Excellent. Well, we're very lucky today to have Lisa with us from Vegan Business Tribe. And I'm going to, with no further ado, hand straight over to Lisa to deliver a talk to us.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So hi, everyone. It's great to see all your smiling vegan faces. That's what I like to see on a Monday morning. So welcome to today's session, which is how to convert your social media followers into customers. So let's start with who on earth I am. If you don't know already, I'm Lisa Fox, the co-founder of Vegan Business Tribe. And we're a community of over 1,000 vegan businesses across the globe. And our mission is to bring together a community of vegan businesses and entrepreneurs and upskill them so that we can change the business scene and make vegan businesses the norm. I'm also the co-founder of Promote Vegan, where we're the official UK agents for the Vegan Society's vegan trademark. And I also write the monthly vegan business column in Vegan Food and Living magazine. So my background is almost 2 decades in marketing and business growth. There are no slides for this presentation, and that is completely on purpose. You'll find that I talk here about how important it actually is to make personal connections with people. So this session is going to be a prime example of how a delivery method makes a huge difference to both the way that you're perceived and the extent to which you're able to create seemingly personal connections, even if it's actually a one-way interaction. So bear that in mind, and I'll come back to that later. So a lot of people ask me, how do you actually make sales from your social media followers and connections? And I've got a really simple answer for you. You don't. You don't make direct sales from your social media channels. That's not how it works. You can't make sales to people who don't know you. You don't just put up a few posts there every week for a month and make a sale. It just doesn't work like that. So acknowledging this point is the very start of your real social media success story. You've got to accept that you're not going to make sales directly from your social media channels alone. You know, it's a whole cacophony of things that help people along their journey to buy from you, and everything has to work together like a symphony. So the only way that you can get it all to work is if you actually decide exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, what every step is that you're leading someone along, and what the end goal actually is. And on top of all that, you've got to actually realize that you're never out of the testing phase. You've got to keep testing what you're doing, find out what's working, and keep tweaking the parts that aren't working. And only then, once you've got your plan and you keep testing, will you start to help people along their journey to becoming your customer. You know, nobody sees an individual social post or even multiple social posts and makes a purchase based on that alone. And if you do, it's probably because of an incredibly clever targeted advert. So if social media isn't currently working for your business or working in the way that you want it to, whether you're focusing on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or anything else, or all of them together, then don't just shrug your shoulders and say that social media isn't right for you or your business, because it's just not true. You've just got to do some groundwork first. So let's start with some basics. The thing that's stopping you from doing social or from actually doing it really well is not that you don't know what you're doing or that you don't have time, or for most of the reasons that you could actually give me right now. The thing that's actually stopping you from doing social or doing it well is that whether you know it or not, you're probably pretty paralyzed by absolute terror, even if you haven't admitted it to yourself yet. And I used to be paralyzed by it too, so it's fine. But we're going to work beyond that. It's terror of the unknown. It can be terror of learning a whole new skill set, or of learning that skill set and then still bombing. You know, it's terror of acknowledging that your actual current social strategy isn't quite working, or that you don't have one at all. It's terror of putting that time in your calendar to regularly do social, and that resulting fear of what else you need to let go of to make time for that. It can be terror of feeling like an idiot on a daily basis, and of putting yourself out there and genuinely feeling vulnerable. And so what you need to do is give all that terror a big hug. You need to actually embrace it and stop working against this massive terror that you've got, even if it's underlying and you haven't acknowledged it yet, because if you work against it, that just feeds the terror. So instead, you've got to start accepting it in a positive way and working with this terror to be able to get things done. And it's all actually part of having compassion for yourself. So instead of this terror that you might feel about, what's not working at the minute and how to get it to work, embrace it as a new adventure and generate some excitement, some genuine excitement about actually learning a new skill set or tweaking the skill set that you already have. Accept that even if what we do doesn't get the results that we want, we're in control. We're our own boss. So we just test another method or another type of content and learn to put your business first and make actual time for social rather than consistently working to other people's agendas by, you might have your email open all the time or your phone turned on or you're on your desk. Sometimes we just need to move away from those things so that we can actually focus on this good stuff. So make time for the things which move your business forward and embrace your vulnerabilities. So remember that people buy from people, we say it all the time, not from companies, and your vulnerability and even showing that actually works in your favor on social. So if you're doing video content, which you should be doing if you're not doing it, then nobody wants you to be perfect except you. Nobody wants you to be a robot. They want you to be relatable. They want you to be vulnerable. They want you to be human. That's that likability factor that's in there. So if you're terrified of actually just putting yourself out there, just get over it. That's as simple as that. You need to get over it. And if I could get over it, which I did, then so can you. I was terrified. So understand that no business is sustainable if it remains in its comfort zone forever. And that includes you too. So all you need are a few bits of knowledge and a few tools and a few go-to resources. And you need to let go of this feeling, the need to be polished, perfect, or even competent at this point, because you don't need to be competent even to make a start. You just need to be willing. So now that you're all feeling willing, you need to first understand your customers before deciding which social channels to talk to them on. Even in business, people tend to use the channel that they like to use the best, or the one that they're most used to, that's rather than what their customers actually want and use. So you'll tend to find you'll gravitate towards using the channels you're comfortable with, rather than necessarily the ones that your customers are actually using. You actually want to be active and talking where your customers are actually there to listen to you. So one of the questions we get asked a lot, from new Vegan Business Tribe members is, how do I find out where my customers are? This is why we've got a whole section on this in our marketing course, because of course, without being clear about this, your business can't be successful. So how do you actually find out where your customers are? So there are just two things that you need to do to find out. One, you talk, and two, you test. So the first thing you need to do is ask. So find out where your current customers and clients are, or even if you've only had one, so the people who've taken the most interest, and find out which social platforms they use. So talking to your current and previous customers is not only useful for finding out which social media platforms they're actually on, you can use this strategy as well for making a lot of decisions within your business, because what you want to find is more people just like them. And their feedback will also help to guide lots of other decisions that you make in your business going forward as well. So there's nothing stopping you from just calling up your current customers and asking them what social media platforms they use. And in fact, you should actually be doing this anyway. So for instance, can you simply ask your customers, do you use LinkedIn? And if so, then how do you use it and why? You could send them a personal email first rather than just picking up the phone, and be honest with them. Tell them that you're wanting to grow your business and that they're one of your top and favorite customers. So you'd love their feedback on which social platforms they use the most and why, to help your business do even more amazing things, and ask if they'd be open to a phone call. And you'll probably be really surprised by how many of them will be willing to have a conversation with you and value that you've just made them feel really special and part of your business growth. Everyone wants to feel important. And again, you're just being openly vulnerable with them with regards to, I'm a person, I'm trying to grow my business. Again, it just increases that likability factor with the people who already love what you're doing. So when you know which platforms your current customers are using, that's when you can start moving into the second phase, which is testing. So what works and what doesn't? Which types of posts connect and which don't? Which types of direct messages do people respond to and how do they respond to them? That's all this phase is. It's just testing. It's not a solid plan where if it doesn't work, then you give up. It's just stage one. So let's have a think about strategies. So the biggest mistake that people make is they concentrate too much on the how they're going to do things without stepping back and asking why they're doing things. You know, it's pointless knowing how and then going ahead and doing if you don't know why. People feel that they need to be on Instagram without deciding what they should be achieving from it. People feel that they should be on LinkedIn or Facebook without genuinely having any concept about the outcome they want for doing so. So you've got to ask yourself, why are you on these platforms? Or what's the major outcome that you need to get from being on these platforms? And the major outcome is actually getting people off these platforms and into your marketing funnel. There's no point using these platforms if you have no strategy for how to get them off these platforms. The whole point of doing social for your business isn't just to make connections or make friends or keep people updated about what you're doing. That's all nice stuff, but that's not the point. You've got to direct them to the place where you're going to and where they're going to engage with you fully. And if you haven't come up with a strategy for a marketing funnel, then that's why you're actually not getting anything worthwhile from social media. This is why in our marketing course, we talk a lot about funnels. Posting regularly does create visibility, but visibility doesn't automatically create customers. I've heard a lot of people say that their problem is visibility. That's not the problem. You don't make sales directly from social media posting alone, and you don't make sales just from increasing your visibility. Increasing your visibility only multiplies what's actually already there, what you've already got. So this means you should only put a lot of time and effort into raising your visibility if you've already tested and proven that your current social media strategy works. In other words, if you aren't already getting regular sales by helping people along your marketing funnel, then at that point, increasing your visibility will likely increase the number of people going through that process and therefore, increase your number of customers. However, if you're increasing your visibility and you're not already making consistent sales, then the only thing that your increased visibility is going to achieve is to multiply your frustrations at still not gaining regular customers. And this is the bit which most people completely miss when they go into social media strategies. You've got to focus on creating customers. So think about it like this. Your social media channel is your shop. So some people are walking straight past your shop. Some people are having a cheeky look in the window and then move on. And others come into the shop. So the ones that come into the shop, do you even know that they're there? And if so, then what are you actually doing with them? Are you letting them stand in the shop until they get bored and walk away? Or are you on the other side of the scale where you're running over and going straight into a full sales pitch and watching them run away terrified? A person following you on Instagram or Facebook or connected with you on LinkedIn is someone who is standing in your shop. Don't leave people just standing in your shop. They're genuinely interested in what you're offering, but they do want to speak to an actual person and have a conversation. So you need to bring them to the counter rather than leaving them standing there. You need to get them off the shop floor and make sure that they feel special. So what you need is a funnel to make sure that these good things happen. So you don't necessarily need big numbers if you've got a really good funnel strategy. If you've got a strategy to both engage with and then get people off social media and into real world conversations instead of just follows and connections, then you can genuinely achieve amazing things with a few hundred really high quality invested and targeted audience members, rather than just several thousand people who like your food photos or your really generalized engagement posts. And don't be afraid of small niche audiences or likes or comments. This really isn't about quantity, it's all about quality. So for example, on Instagram with Vegan Business Tribe, I don't worry about trying to get huge numbers of likes or huge amounts of comments or followers or using hashtags which just aren't specifically relevant to vegan businesses, because our strategy isn't to engage as many people as possible. Our strategy is to attract our tribe, those people who also believe in our mission and those who we can genuinely help, and then maintain our amazing relationships with them. I don't want 500 people liking our latest post if none of them are members or ever want to be members of Vegan Business Tribe. There's absolutely no point in that. All I'd be achieving is making ourselves look great and shiny and glittery and popular from the outside, but literally achieving nothing. They're not in the shop. All they've done is given us a thumbs up as they look at themselves in the glass of the shop as they walk on by. I've achieved nothing. So let's think about your shop. Once people are actually in your metaphorical shop, you might be wondering what to have a conversation about, because I've told you not to say nothing, but you also shouldn't do a hard sell. But you might say, it's a shop, I'm here to pitch. No, you're not. You're not here to pitch. So let's look at an example from my LinkedIn. I'm getting hundreds of connection requests each month. And these are all people who are interested to one level or another in what I do. So I've pre-qualified them by making it really clear in my LinkedIn profile that I'm vegan and that I'm the founder of Vegan Business Tribe, what our mission is, and that I champion vegan businesses and entrepreneurs. So I can happily assume that they're either a vegan professional and don't have a business, or they're a vegan entrepreneur who has their own vegan business, or they have an interest in veganism or the vegan marketplace. I haven't been wrong on this for a long time, apart from the people purely trying to sell to me. And that's why it's really important that it's clear on your LinkedIn profile who you are and what you do, because that kind of pre-qualification for connection requests can save a lot of time once you're receiving a lot of them. So now what happens is I accept their request and send them a message. I do exactly the same when someone follows us on Instagram. I send them a personal message. Now we use a similar messaging strategy on each platform, but slightly different wording to match the platform, why people are there and what sorts of conversations they expect to have. On LinkedIn, I send them a message thanking them for the connection and asking if we've been introduced before. Simple as that. It's a one sentence opening, and it opens a friendly conversation. It's not a hard sell. They're now at the counter of the shop and engaged. On Instagram, I send them a message thanking them for the follow and asking if they're a member of Vegan Business Tribe yet, and a sentence about the lovely community we've got and how much we love it. Again, this opens a friendly conversation. It's not a hard sell, and they're also now at the counter and engaged. So we get a really high response rate to both initial messages. And if anyone then unfollows us on Instagram after we send them a welcome message, then I'm happy with that, because our community was never going to be right for them. And that's okay. The second and third messages then continue that conversation to find out whether either we can help them or they can help us. And if we can help them, then the goal is to move that person onto our website and to become a Vegan Business Tribe member. If someone later in the conversation asks for specific help, we say that's why we've got our community hub group, where members can ask questions and support each other and get help directly from myself and David also. If someone asks what we do, we point them to the page covering this on the website. If someone asks more about our mission, I send them to our special PDF from the website, which talks about our mission, what we've done at Vegan Business Tribe over the last 12 months, our plans for the next 12 months. If someone asks about a particular topic that we've already covered, then I can send them a link to either the article on the website or the podcast episode. So we do care about these conversations and making connections with people. Even if you're doing an initial copy and paste strategy, that is okay, just to get the conversation started and making sure that you're pre-qualifying and the conversations you end up in are people are genuinely interested in what you're doing. But don't take all your time replying in really personal ways, which take up your energy and gives away your resources for free later in the conversation. And this is a mistake a lot of people make. They get involved in an individual conversation with every single person and end up spending so much time on that they're not spending time on the good things they need to be doing for their current customers. So be genuinely interested in who they are and what they do. But if it's you who can help them, then your goal is by message 3 to either have them at your next funnel stage or leave the conversation. That's your challenge by message 3. So direct messages on any social platform is not the place to have a longer conversation or the place to display your knowledge or worth. What you need to display your knowledge or worth is some content that you can point people at so that you don't need to keep rewriting it in different conversations. If you're regularly getting asked questions about your products or services or your knowledge base and you don't have any content to point them at, then now is the time to create some, because it's going to require some time to actually create that now, but it is going to save you so much time down the line. So this is how you establish your expertise without having to do so in an individual way with every single person you ever get into a conversation with. That is going to take far too much time for you. So what you've got to remember, again, is that these are real people, and the worst thing you can do is to go in selling. And we can all tell a sales pitch from a long way away, however disguised you try and make it. So what you want to do is start an actual conversation and connect with them personally. And as part of that, you might have a conversion tool that you can use. For example, once you've started a conversation, you might offer someone a free trial or a discount voucher, but this shouldn't take place even within the first 2 messages you exchange. Don't push it on them. This is once you're starting to get to know them and they're starting to get to know you. So save that conversion tool for that message 3. Remember why you're doing this. You're ultimately looking to get more customers. So if you're having a conversation with someone and they're interested in what you're doing, again, without the sales pitch, then they'll be asking you for more information. And if they're not interested, then they're not your target customer, and you've just had a lovely conversation, and that's okay too. So now we're getting towards the end. And I want to address why most people get stuck at a few hundred followers and connections and how to move beyond that. People get stuck because they don't have a strategy and a plan, which is why they often end up on a couple of hundred followers or connections. They don't actually put the time in the calendar every week to work on building their connections. They're not sending out connection requests on LinkedIn and really putting the time into creating the initial personalized messages for each and finding the people they actually have synergy with, not just the people they want to sell to. They're not posting content that people actually connect with and want to interact with. They're not talking to their customers to understand what they actually want to see and hear. And they're often posting because it's Tuesday, not because they've got something to say and because their specific audience actually want to hear it. So I could actually do a whole separate session on coming up with a content strategy. But if you do want more guidance on this, then we do have our vegan marketing course as part of Vegan Business Tribe. We've got a whole section on content. So just a note on Instagram, you might have heard of the follow for follow strategy. This is where you try to find an audience who might be interested in what your company provides and then follow them in the hope that they'll follow you back. So the purpose of this is to do this on a really regular basis in order to relatively quickly increase your number of followers. And there tends to be around a 30% follow back success rate as long as you don't then unfollow them afterwards. Now, this might initially sound good and even look good to others, regarding your number of followers on Instagram. But do be warned, it does look bad that you're following more people than who follow you. And people do notice this and know exactly what you're doing and why. It means that you're not interested in anything other than getting followers, which can be quite the meaningless mission, and that people are only following you because you're following them rather than you having a genuinely engaged audience. So think about this. In this scenario, you're actually just building up an audience of followers who aren't necessarily interested in what you do or who are ever going to buy from you. So you must ask yourself, if you're going to do this strategy, is that really what you want? Is there a point to it for you? So this half an hour a day that you'd be spending doing a follow train, would that half an hour actually be better spent elsewhere by creating genuine engagement and interest? That's your decision, but ultimately all this type of behavior it's a transaction of quite a hollow nature, and people can see that when they come to your page and see the imbalance in your followers versus following. So if you're struggling to get started on something like Instagram, then focus more on reaching your target audience by liking posts and commenting on photos, maybe even starting a conversation in direct messages. It's all about engagement, and the algorithm likes that too. So it's hard work at the beginning, but it does actually pay off in the end. So in this last part, I do actually want to give you some actionables, because I know it's always frustrating when you come to a session like this and you haven't learned how to actually do something or what you should be doing now. So number 1, do schedule time in your calendar to create content and to schedule it. Just putting this into your calendar does give you permission to do this. And it's the only way that I still get that done every week. So number 2, do create macro content. I will explain that in a moment. If you don't know what that is, do create macro content to make creating your micro content easier. So a quick example of this is to write an article relevant to your business and put this on your website as a blog, for example. So this article is macro content because it's a big piece of content. And then you can pick 10 pieces of information from that article and create those as social posts. So this is your micro content. It's snippets of your macro content. So just actually doing this, creating big pieces of content, your macro content, and then being able to take lots of micro content out of it makes posting on social so much easier. You're not having to come up with new ideas for everything, and you are actually, communicating your value and your knowledge in every piece of information that you're putting out there. Number 3, do be consistent with your branding and regularity of content. This not only helps people to recognize you and know what to expect from you, but the regularity of your posting also pushes you to get it done each week. Number 4, if you're wanting a great tool to plan your content, I can really recommend Trello. That's what I use. It's Trello, Trello, which is also great for to-do lists. Without it, I would be completely lost. So you can download it and try it out for free. There's lots of content on the internet and YouTube, which will show you exactly how you can use it to your advantage. Number 5, you don't need to post in the moment on social. You can plan your content and schedule it in advance. For Instagram and Facebook, I can really recommend using Facebook's Creator Studio, because Instagram is owned by Facebook and you're posting directly within their own scheduling system. It does tend to get looked on more favorably by algorithms. And you can also get back some really interesting stats as well, such as, how many people saw or interacted with your post who aren't in your current audience, so that you can judge how well your hashtags or copy is working. And you can also schedule the same post to be published on both your Instagram and Facebook profiles at the same time within there if you post from the Instagram tab. There are also other free scheduling tools you can use, including those which can schedule posts on LinkedIn and Twitter. So do have a search on Google and find one which you find intuitive and which works well for you. Number 6, do send someone a follow-up message when they follow or connect with you. Make it short, make it friendly, and don't sell to them or even tell them what you do yet. Just express an interest in them. Number 7, do be interesting, be visual, be fun. Dullness is the enemy of social media, and that includes LinkedIn. If you've got a dull thing to say, figure out an exciting way to say it. Can you, ice the message onto a vegan cake and share it that way? And number 8 is the most important one. Do test, tweak, and test some more. Never be afraid to be flexible. Never shrug your shoulders and give up. If social media isn't working for you yet, it's either because you're focusing on the wrong platform, you haven't yet found the right way to connect with potential customers there, or because you haven't got your strategy and marketing funnel working, or you actually haven't created one yet. So that's it. There's so much more I could say on all of this, but I hope you've all enjoyed it and found it really helpful. There's plenty more you can learn in our marketing course. And if you're not a full member of Vegan Business Tribe, then you can do the first section of the marketing course for free. So do take a look if you think that might be helpful for you. And I hope that you all now understand what I mean about how you can actually build better personal connections with people, even if it's a one-way exchange. You can take this as an example of how you can create deeper and better relationships with your connections, followers, members, or customers, purely by changing the way, test it out, changing the way you deliver your message or content to them. Just like I've changed it up and used purely video today. Do you feel more connected to me because you were looking at me the whole time and felt like I was talking directly to you rather than me using slides? Do you feel like you know me a bit better? Do you feel like you're actually starting to build a relationship with me, even though technically this has been a monologue? It's strange how it works, but it does actually work. Just talking to your camera about something of interest to your audience and posting these videos regularly on your social channels genuinely builds relationships, even though you can't see the people you're talking to. And building these relationships are all part of a successful marketing funnel on social. So thanks all for coming, and thank you to Mark and Sam for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lisa. That was really good. That was really good. I'm just going to remove the spotlight. I'm going to give us 5 minutes or so for some questions, and then we're probably kind of almost out of time, but that was absolutely excellent. I found that really useful. It was great to have some practical tips at the end as well. Thank you. Always appreciated. So that was good. Just a couple of questions I've seen that have popped up through the chat. So Kaylee asked, do you send connection requests on LinkedIn? If so, what kind of message do you send to them when they connect? It's relatively rare. Well, if I send LinkedIn requests now, it's usually to someone I've met through networking, for example. So I've already met them. So it's like, well, it's great to meet you today, because I'm getting such an influx that I don't tend to make time for sending out connection requests, because I get so many now. However, for
example, with the ones that I receive, it's really frustrating when I don't know who they are or why they're trying to connect with me, or if we've met before, or if they're even vegan. So quite often one of the first questions I end up asking, are you vegan yourself or just interested in the space? So it's really helpful when you are sending a request, just say, hi, I'm connecting because blah, and never do just a general one. We get a lot of ones where, we seem to have a lot of similar connections. I thought it'd be helpful to connect. Still, why? Mention something that's specific to that person, even if it's just you taking 30 seconds to go check out their website or latest social post, just so that they know that you've actually, you know who they are, you know what they do, and what sort of synergy there might be there between you. Does that help?
It's Kaylee that asked the question, but yeah, okay, good. I was going to say I found that helpful.
It was helpful. It's one of those things, because you get some people say just go and connect, just put in like vegan marketer and just connect with everyone that comes up, and yes, that helps to build your numbers, but are you actually starting a relationship? Not really. You're just another number in their followers, and they're another number in yours. So it was how do you connect with these people but start to build that relationship? Like, what would you say to them? And yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, just take a look at something. It's exactly the same advice I'd give if you were wanting to be on someone's podcast. Again, never make it a copy and paste message. Oh, I'd love to be a guest on your podcast because I do blah. It's like, oh my word, so what? That's what they're going to think, literally. So what? What they want to know is, have you listened to my podcast? Do you know what we usually do? If you listen to the last one, even if you didn't listen to the last one and you just pick out 30 seconds of it and mention something that was mentioned in there, that's still okay. Just something that's a little bit personalized. So yeah, never just a generic message. It can still be mainly a copy and paste one, like, hi, I'm blah. I love that you're doing X, and then go find that X. Just go find it, because it's only a short message. You only get, I don't know if it's like 200, I think it's 220 characters or something like that in an initial intro message to add to your connection request. So yeah, do try and connect with all of them if you want, but you do need to find that X for every one of them that's just a little bit individual, because it does help with, as with anything, if you're messaging somebody already, it helps with the algorithm with regards to what shows up. So you're more, if you can have a conversation with them, then your posts are more likely to show up in their feed. So that helps too, just to start that conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa. And Lena also just asked, how long do you advise spending each day on connecting? Which might, given your last answer, be slightly different for you if you're not really spending a lot of time going out and it's kind of more incoming, but
I would say if you're just focusing on building connections, just start it at half an hour. Again, consider this part of your testing phase. Put half an hour in your calendar every day, and then you have to stick to it. You've given yourself permission. That is half an hour where that's all you're going to do. And even if finding that X is quite difficult, for the first few times, and it means that half an hour you're only able to connect with 3 people, it will get easier. The more that you're doing it, you'll become more accustomed to finding what that X is for every person that you're trying to connect with. It'll get a little bit quicker, but again, you might find that eventually it only takes you kind of 15 minutes a day, or you might say, actually, this is really helpful, I should be spending 2 hours a day doing this. It completely depends on the kind of people that you're attracting.
Thank you, Lisa. Sorry, I just needed to run to pick up a delivery in the meantime, but I heard everything. Thank you so much for answering. Kind of like my idea for the question was, I'm just noticing that I'm spending a lot of time connecting, and that obviously leaves me a little bit less time to actually working. So kind of, I was curious to see like how long you are spending time on that, kind of like, and if there's something that you're doing wrong.
No, again, my connecting is not outward connecting. It's kind of filtering the stuff that's coming in. But I try and do that every day. So that takes time as well. And I try and put half an hour aside. But I try not to go out of that half an hour, because again, that then takes away from the work that I should be doing. And what really helps is, like I say, having this certain amount of copy paste strategy, but yet having that X in every individual message that I can go find each time. So it means even the conversations I'm having, even quite often the second message is a copy paste, but it's then personalized to each person. And just having that regularity and having that, I know what my first message is, I know what my second message is, and I have a few different ones depending on what the answer to the first one was. And again, just slightly personalizing each one just actually makes it so much quicker, because it's all about testing and finding where those efficiency sweet spots are, because we all have to be efficient in what we're doing. And ultimately, it can feel quite difficult getting those conversations going and knowing how long to spend. But yeah, I would say start with half an hour a day, limit yourself to that, figure out how that's working. And it might be that actually, if you're testing and tweaking and you're finding yourself getting amazing things back, the more that you test and tweak and refine what you're actually doing with these connections, you might find that actually it's more helpful for you to spend an hour a day and take an extra hour out of your work, because you're getting better requests and better connections and better potential customers there. So yeah, I would just test that out, tweak it, but start at 30 minutes and see how that works for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think we're more or less out of time. That was really good talk, Lisa. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording.